Japan was nothing like I expected, and I mean that in the best way possible. Tokyo feels like you've stepped into the future. I was literally driving go-karts around the city, and somehow that's a normal thing here. It's a completely different world. Coming from England, it is a huge change and a huge culture shock, but one that I definitely think everyone should experience once in their life. So, if you're thinking about going to Japan, here's exactly what I'd do differently, how long I'd stay in each place, what's actually worth it, and what isn't. Now, starting off in Tokyo, as you can see from this clip, Tokyo is chaos, but it's the most organised chaos you'll ever see. I personally stayed in Tokyo for about a week. I think that's the perfect amount of time really. You could have a bit longer, maybe a bit less, but it just depends on how much you want to do and how much you want to see, because there's endless things to do while you're there. There's lots of things I would recommend with activities and things, but one of my favourite things to do was just wander through the streets, get lost in the side streets and stumble across some local restaurants and cafes. Now, the first thing I recommend seeing is the 3D billboards. Now, there isn't really much to do, it's just a site, so it's not going to take up much of your time, which is a good thing. But if you're in Tokyo, I think it's definitely a must-see. Now, the main activity I definitely recommend is the karting around Tokyo. Now, I saw this before I went and I really wanted to do it, and it definitely lived up to the expectations. As you see there, they're just riding around, you get loads of people looking and waving at you, and I think it's around 45 minutes to an hour I did. You have an instructor, so you don't have to worry about where you're going. You just follow him and you get to dress up as a character. I was Charizard. I think they had Mario and Luigi, which I'm sure always go fast, and Pikachu and a few others, but yeah, I definitely recommend that. I also definitely recommend Spocha. So this is an all-you-can-play indoor entertainment complex which is found within the Round 1 stadiums. Now, they have loads of activities, I believe 50 plus, including baseball, soccer, mini bowling, arcade games, karaoke, tennis, roller skating. They had so much stuff you could do. It was only around £10, so it wasn't expensive at all. I think baseball was my favourite. As you can see here, I was class, and I definitely recommend this. Now, possibly the main thing you cannot miss is Mount Fuji. Now, I personally went to the Chirita Pagoda to try and get a view of the temple with Mount Fuji in the background. Unfortunately, I got a bit unlucky. It was really snowy, which was cool, but there were loads of clouds and it basically blocked the whole view of Mount Fuji. But there's not really a lot you can do, it's kind of luck of the draw. There's multiple places you can see it. I personally think this is the best view, but you want to try and get a day where it's not going to be cloudy. As you can see there, you can't even really see it because of all the clouds, but I definitely recommend going, and if you can, try and find a sunny day without clouds. Now, next up is Kyoto. Now, after Tokyo, Kyoto looks like you've gone back about 400 years in time. It's full of temples and shrines, and it really, I think, is the best place to see the Japanese culture, and I definitely recommend adding this onto your trip. I personally stayed here for about 3 days, which I felt was sufficient. I'm sure there's plenty more to do if you stay longer, so if you want to stay longer, I think that's also a good option. But if you want to really make the most of your time there and not waste too much time in any place, I would probably say around 3 to 4 days would be a good amount of time. Now, the first thing I definitely recommend doing is the Bamboo Grove. So it's called the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. Not sure if I've said that right, but you can do guided tours. I'm not sure you really need to. I personally didn't. I'm not sure what more you would gain from doing a tour. Maybe just a bit of information about the history. But I'll show you some videos here. The Bamboo Grove is definitely worth seeing, and it's also free to enter, so you don't have to pay anything. The next thing I definitely recommend is actually in the same place, is Arashiyama Monkey Park in Iwatayama. Now, this is a really cool place to go. There's monkeys everywhere, you get a really nice view of Kyoto, and you can feed the monkeys safely from behind a fence. You can buy food up there to give to them, and yeah, it's a really cool way to see Kyoto from up high and also get to see monkeys. Next up we have Osaka. Now I actually flew into Osaka first, so I've done this order in reverse because I went from Osaka to Kyoto to Tokyo. But I really enjoyed Osaka. I spent 4 days there. I think again that was plenty of time. Maybe even could have spent a day less, but you also could spend a day more if you really wanted to see everything. And I definitely recommend adding it into your trip as well. So the first thing I would do in Osaka is definitely Universal Studios. I think the main positive here was the price. So I actually went to the Universal Studios in Florida recently and I paid about $250 for 1 day including parking, whereas here it was around £50 for 1 day, so a lot less. It was pretty busy, but it was a really big park, so queue times weren't too bad. The only place it was bad was the Nintendo World, which was really cool. But again the queues were quite long, but all the rides they had were really good. Quite a few were similar to the ones in other parks, but yeah, all in all it was a very good day. So altogether I spent about 2 weeks in Japan, about 1 week in Tokyo, 3 days in Kyoto and 4 days in Osaka. I think it was a pretty good way to spend 2 weeks. If I went again, I probably would do it pretty similar, maybe try and add in one other place and spend a day less in maybe Tokyo and Osaka and try and add an extra place in, but to be honest I think with the travel times this is a pretty good itinerary for 2 weeks. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and drop a like. I'll have plenty more guides and videos coming soon, so please make sure to stick around and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.